You had a very important professor early on that taught you some unique things about economics, right? Something that really resonated with you, that maybe laid the path. I think you hadn't heard about Bitcoin at that point, but you had this professor that was maybe showing you some of the flaws in the financial system. Can you talk about that? And do I get that right?
Yeah, man, you really did your homework. Amazing. I would love to talk about that because that professor I had during my economic studies, I had him between 2013 and 17. I finished my economic studies and then I quit my master studies in business afterwards, right? But that's not important. The most important part for me, university-wise, was 2013 to 17 when I studied economics. And that specific professor you mentioned was actually an ex-central banker from the European Central Bank. And then you might think, oh, that must be a bad guy or puppet or something like this. Not at all. I think the moment he understood what was actually happening and what the central banking system is doing, which is redistributing wealth from the poor to the middle class to the rich, eliminating the middle class, making the rich richer and making the poor more poor. Once he understood that, he actually dropped out and he became a professor for the university. And he taught us that Keynesian economics is having so many flaws that we cannot just keep printing money, that it's devaluing the system and basically robbing people of their purchasing power. So I understood all of that already before I ever found Bitcoin. And then I thought, okay, what should I do? I made research. I was like, okay, I can buy stocks. I mean, stocks go up because the US dollar gets printed, right? US dollar index goes down, stocks go up. That might be good to maybe preserve the purchasing power. Then I thought, okay, ethically, maybe gold and silver is a good solution also, right? It's limited in supply, it's hard money, and it's there for ages already. And it will also go up if the US dollar goes down purchasing power wise. So I thought, okay, gold and silver might be it. I also had some stocks, but gold and silver, I thought that might be it. But when I found Bitcoin, I was like I'm not a programmer, right? But I went into it. I watched Andreas Antonopoulos, a quite good YouTuber, very legitimate guy, who taught also from the technical perspective of Bitcoin, what Bitcoin actually is, how you cannot expand the supply. And wow, when I understood that, I was like, okay, Bitcoin is like gold, just way earlier, way lower valuation, up until today, actually, 80%, 90%, 85% lower valuation than gold. But on top of that, it's much more valuable, right? You cannot print any Bitcoin, just like you cannot just produce gold, right? You have to find it. But Bitcoin, on top of that, it's more portable, it's more divisible, and it is more scarce because there is more gold in space on other planets, uncertain amount of gold in Earth still yet to be mined. Whereas for Bitcoin, it's completely certain. Almost everything is mined already. And the most important part, and I'm pretty sure you will agree with that, is the not confiscatability. Because at one point of time, in many jurisdictions in the world, that is going to be a huge factor. Okay, buy yourself some gold, but they can come, they can confiscate it. If you have Bitcoin, put it on a 12-word seed phrase, remember it, you can write it down. But if you can really remember it, no one can confiscate what's inside of your brain. And I think this blew my mind when I found out what Bitcoin is really about. I was like, okay, man, 100% all in, that's it, that's gonna change the world. And as I said, now it's much more obvious than 8 years ago that it will.
So you studied with that professor from 13 to 17?
Yeah, 2013 to 2000.
You were just doing like night school, or just still as a student? You were still learning?
Yeah, he did macroeconomics and monetary policy and these kind of topics within my economic studies.
Wow. And if it wasn't for him, do you think you would have gone all in on Bitcoin when you saw it?
I think still, but it would have taken me a little bit, I want to give him credits for sure, but it would have taken me maybe a little bit more effort, a little bit more time to understand, because I was starting with economics for the reason that I was hungry to understand the system, hungry to understand how do economies work in between each other, how to understand why interest is going up, why purchasing power is going down, and these kind of things. I had this inherent will to understand these things anyways. So he just gave some critical spice into my studies, which was really beautiful. But I was on top of that, watching YouTube videos day and night about that topic regardless. And that's why, it definitely helped, but it was one explaining factor out of many of those I mentioned.
It was almost like he pulled you out so you could see the matrix and you could clearly see the problem. And then as soon as you saw the solution, you had been staring at that problem for so long that it was just so obvious to you. Yeah. Whereas most people, it wouldn't have been very obvious. And no one was really talking about that stuff back then. It wasn't on YouTube. A lot of people don't forget now, everything's on YouTube, points of view, opinions, podcasts. Right. But back in 13, 14, 15, 16, you wouldn't have been able to find a former central banker telling you what's wrong with the system.
Very difficult to find, for sure, yeah.
You were very lucky for that to happen, and then you to be poised.
Since I joined London Real, I've already invested in 7 deals, and I'm incredibly excited because that will change my life. That will change the life of my family. That is building generational wealth. And honestly, the first time I was in the Zoom meeting, I was like pinching myself, like this can't be real. If I was not part of the London Real Investment Club, there is no way to participate in the beginning of those companies.
We're investing in the companies that are running the ecosystem. I'm in the room listening to these guys that are making things happen. These are change makers. These guys are visionaries.
If any of you that are sitting on the fence wondering if this investment is worth it, I promise you, the knowledge and the insight you will receive, that alone will change your life.
All of us are worthy and deserving of the wealth. We have the same rights as anybody else on this planet.